What's going on, YouTube? Today I bring you my Week 17 predictions for the 2021 NFL season. We do have a quarterback carousel predictions video and a head coach prediction video up on the channel if you want to go check those out. And if you don't want to miss future content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and anyways, let's get into our Week 17 predictions. So we're 150, 89, 1. Hit that 150 mark. We're not going to hit the 2-to-1 ratio this year, but first off, we have no Thursday or Saturday games this week, and so it's all Sunday and Monday, one Monday game. And kicking us off on Sunday, we do have the Giants in Chicago, two very underwhelming teams this season. The Bears did pull out a win against Seattle last week. They actually got a nice come-from-behind victory, and that's good for them and everything. It's not a special win, obviously. It's Seattle, one of the worst defenses in the league. I do think the Giants are worse than Seattle. You're in Chicago this time. I do hope that Justin Fields continues to develop. Patrick Graham, he's done a nice job with his defense this year, but it's not been on the same level as it was, a year ago. So in not a very good game, and a game that really just does not matter, I'm going to take Chicago 19-13. It's not going to be a good game, though. Moving on, we have what's going to be, in my prediction, a shutout. We have the Jaguars in New England. I mean, this is basically the same as seeing, Jacksonville and New England 5 years. Well, no, 5 years ago, Jacksonville was a good team. Like 2 years ago. It's kind of like seeing Tom Brady back with the Patriots versus the Jaguars. It's just, I don't think I should have to explain the Patriots elite this year. After a poor start, and the Jaguars just the opposite of elite. Darrell Bevell has struggled just as much as Urban Meyer pretty much when it comes to coaching. So a really, really good team versus a really, really bad team. It's going to be a shutout to me. Then we have the Rams in Baltimore, and I know Baltimore is going to be trying to push for a playoff spot, but at the same time, the Rams are also trying to, keep the lead in the NFC West, and I just don't think the Ravens are even close to as good of a team as the Rams this year. Lamar Jackson might be playing, but even if he is playing, he's going to be playing hurt. So I don't really see him being as much of a factor as maybe he should be. So with the Rams, I just think they far outmatch the Ravens, who after this, I think would probably be out of the playoff race. So I have the Rams kind of pushing for that number one seed, really. I don't think it's possible, actually. The Packers might have already secured the number one seed. I'm not sure. But either way, though, yeah, the Rams, they're looking for at least the first place in the NFC West. So I just don't see the Ravens pulling this one out. Moving on, we have a whooping of the week with the Buccaneers and the Jets. I mean, sure, maybe the Patriots will shut out the Jaguars, but the Buccaneers, come on, it's the Buccaneers and the Jets. I know that there's not such a thing as a safe game this year. The Lions beat the Cardinals, right? But at the same time, the Buccaneers are a bit more consistent and better than the Cardinals, especially as of late, compared to the Jets, which, Zach Wilson's been playing better, but still struggling, still probably the worst defense in the NFL. I think they can get a couple field goals better than the Jaguars. I don't think that they're going to even come close to winning this game. Then we have what maybe some people think is going to be a bit of a blowout. Buffalo is 14-point favorites in this game, and I understand why. Obviously you have one of the best offenses in the NFL versus one of the worst defenses. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a bit of a closer game, and that's what I'm kind of predicting. 11 points isn't the closest game, but I think it's a bit closer than what people might expect it to be. The Falcons have been competitive this year. They're still in the playoff race, right? Are they going to win this game? No, but they're still going to make it competitive, and at the very least, they can make it a good showing. I don't think they win. I think it can be closer, though, so I'll take Buffalo 26-15. Then we have my game of the week, which is going to be Kansas City in Cincinnati, and Cincinnati just been such a pleasant surprise this year. Definitely one of my big misses, and that's mostly just because there were so many players on this team that really just stepped up, including the coaches. Zach Taylor has done a great job this year. I feel like it's Geronimo, I forget his name exactly, but the Bengals defensive coordinator has done a fantastic job. Players like even Jesse Bates, right? They've not been as good as last year, but they've still been great. Add on the fact that Trey Hendrickson has been elite this year. Logan Wilson's been great. And on offense, obviously Jamar Chase, the offensive line's held up somewhat decent. Joe Burrow playing like one of the best quarterbacks in football right now. All that's going great for the Bengals, except the Chiefs are just better. The thing with the Chiefs earlier this season was just the issue that their defense was struggling early on, and so then Mahomes was feeling he had to do it all. As his receivers were dropping everything, and the offensive line struggled a bit early on. But as time went on, I mean, the defense really became one of the better in the NFL. His receivers stopped dropping everything. His offensive line became one of the best in the NFL, and all of a sudden, the Chiefs are backing to look like maybe the most dangerous team in the NFL right now. So yeah, the Bengals have been great, right? They've been a very pleasant surprise, but versus the Chiefs, which is really battling for that number one seed right now because it's a tight race in the AFC. I just feel like with the Chiefs, they're going to want that number one seed. Bengals, yeah, they're fighting for a playoff spot, but both these teams are fighting for something, and I think the Chiefs just outmatch the Bengals. So I will take them in a very good competitive game here, 28-21. Moving on, we've got my first upset prediction of the week, and that is going to be the Dolphins in Tennessee. A lot of people have been pointing to the fact that the Dolphins, yeah, they're on a 7-win streak, but it's not against very good teams. I mean, heck, before their streak started, they lost to the Jaguars, which we know how the Jaguars have been this year. So that obviously, somewhat concerning. But if you look at this stretch for the Dolphins, over these past 7 games, I mean, you had the hold on. You had the Texans. I mean, maybe the worst team in the NFL besides the Jaguars. Then you have the Ravens, which was a good win, right? Good win. Jets, not the best team. Panthers, not the best team. Giants, not the best team. Jets, we already discussed them. Saints, and the Saints have literally no offense. So the Dolphins have not been playing very good teams. They've got a couple of solid wins over the last 7 games. Here's the thing. You need to look at how the Dolphins play their games, which is why they've gotten these last 7 wins. Because for a team that lost to the Jaguars, they should have lost probably one of those games, right? To the Giants, the Panthers, the Jets twice, the Texans. And it's because with the Dolphins, they have a defense, right? Brian Flores finally figured out the defense this year, which, by the way, Brian Flores has to be in head coach of the year conversation, coach of the year conversation. He figured out that defense, right? That the defense, it's still really good. Xavier Howard's playing much better. Javon Holland, I think, is a defensive player of the year candidate. Just he's got Jalen Phillips playing great as well. He's got guys playing well. The offense, on the other hand, they have not been able to perform up to standard, and that's for one reason only. It's the offensive line. It is by far and away the worst run blocking and pass blocking offensive line in the NFL. The best player on that line is probably Jesse Davis, and even then, I mean, it's Jesse Davis. It's a horrible offensive line, and of course, if you're a quarterback, even with weapons like Jalen Waddle, right, you're just going to have trouble being able to throw past 5 yards down the field. I mean, that's why Jalen Waddle has so many receptions, because he, along with Devontae Smith, was such a great RPO, bubble screen type guy at Alabama, that he's good at that, and the Dolphins are using that to their advantage, and Tua knows how to do it as well, because that's what they did at Alabama with him. And so when your offense already knows how to run those plays, but you're also going to need those quick, short passes because of your line, and because of your line, you have no run game. That's just how they've got to play football, and they've played it safe and sound, and it's worked. Tua has been very efficient. The defense has done their job, and it's led to 7 straight wins, and they're able to put up a decent amount of points while doing so, especially even against teams like the Saints, right? The Saints shut out the Buccaneers, and then the Dolphins went and put up 20 points on them. I mean, yeah, sure, it's not all the offense, but this is a team that knows how to play safe, sound, slow, good football. And then you compare that to a team like the Titans, where they've been so wildly inconsistent this year, where sometimes their passing game's working, sometimes it's not. They don't really have the best running game right now with Henry out. Their defense has been good. Like, they've had some great players like Byard and Simmons and Landry, but it's sporadic. It's not consistent. And I know with a lot of people really doubting the Dolphins right now, still even after a 7-win streak, I think they're a team, especially led by a guy like Flores, that I trust to keep that, heads down, full steam ahead mentality going. I think the Dolphins can march in here and get a good upset over the Titans. So I will take the Dolphins 23-22 over the Titans, which, by the way, happy 2022. Moving on, we've got the Raiders in Indianapolis. Indianapolis, pretty big favorites here. And yeah, I mean, obviously, the Raiders struggled in a lot of different areas this year. they've been fine under Bisaccia since Gruden got out. I mean, a win against Denver last week wasn't the most impressive thing, but they did it. Um, versus the Colts, where they've just been elite recently. Yeah, I just think there's a clear difference between the two. Like, yeah, one team it's only a 1 win difference between the two, but one team's just clearly better. And Jonathan Taylor probably my offensive player of the year with Jonathan Taylor. Carson Wentz has been playing much better recently when Jonathan Taylor emerged. The defense playing great. I think Frank Reich also has to be in coach of the year conversation. So, yeah, I mean, I just see a pretty clear difference, and I think the Colts handle this one pretty easily in Indianapolis. Moving on, we have the Eagles in Washington, and the Eagles are actually 1 game away from clinching a playoff spot. Compare that to Washington, which has just been so disappointing after that really nice win streak they had going for them. And I see one team here that's really fighting for something serious, and one team that's just not. Especially division rivals. I mean, sure, maybe Washington's going to want to try to beat them just to spite them. Either way, I think at the end of the day, Eagles get a pretty easy win here. They've been really good under Nick Sirianni in his first year. At least definitely compared to where I had them. Like, yeah, there's been some teams that I was pretty off on, as far as win totals. The Eagles are by far and away the team that I was the farthest off of, and they've surprised this year for sure. So I do have the Eagles pulling out this win and getting themselves a playoff spot. Moving on to our first afternoon games, we have the Broncos in LA, and the Broncos, I just don't know anymore. I think they might actually be my worst picks team. Maybe not, but they're definitely one of my worst. It is so impossible to predict the Broncos. I swear to God, every time that I think they're going to lose, they win. And every time I think they win, they're going to lose. And it's just how it goes. And I tried using that logic 2 weeks in a row. It worked the first week, it didn't the next week. So the Broncos, they're just so inconsistent. And a lot of the times it really comes down to the quarterback play. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater has had some amazing games this year. And then there's games where he's just sucked. And part of that's been because Pat Shurmur is, in my opinion, the worst offensive coordinator in the league. Some of the plays he draws up are really just depressing. And even in an interview, he said basically that he doesn't think it's possible to target a receiver on 3rd and long, like past the sticks, basically. He doesn't think that's possible. When you have Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, Noah Fant, Albert Okwuegbunam, and that's the guy you have as your offensive coordinator, you're going to lose a lot of games like Denver has this year. They've got a suffocating defense. In fact, Denver is quite the anomaly. I believe that they're actually top 10 in possessions, possession time, turnover differential, penalties, and yet they're still 7-8. I blame it on Pat Shurmur, a little bit on Vic Fangio as well. I mean, at the end of the day, Pat Shurmur's still your OC. I'm not taking Denver in another game this year. LAC, they're battling for a playoff spot. They're still in the race, but they're probably done. With Pat Shurmur still being your offensive coordinator, I'm taking the Chargers in this one. Then moving on, we have the Texans and the 49ers, and the 49ers are very heavily favored. And I mean, I don't think the Texans are going to win or anything. Like, yeah, they've gotten a few impressive wins this year. It's just what you're going to get when a team has the experience it does, because that's what I've always kind of said about the Texans. I mean, I predicted them to go winless because I didn't know if it ever lead to a win, but they're an experienced, disciplined team, and it has led to a few wins for them this year. So good for them. But, at the end of the day, they're not a good team. They're not going to go out against a team like the Niners, and win a good game. If they win, it's because the 49ers shot themselves in the foot. I don't think they will. Also battling for a playoff spot. I'm going to take San Francisco pretty comfortably in this game. Then we have my betting game of the week. We have, excuse me, my betting game of the week. We have Detroit in Seattle. And I'm just going to take Detroit the rest of the year, to be honest. I'm rooting for them. I'm rooting for them to win. The Seahawks just lost to the Bears. So really, they can lose to anybody. I mean, we know how the Seahawks have been this year, and it's kind of funny to me that people still think that Russell Wilson's going to be there next year. I mean, it's just really obvious to me that he does not want to be there. And whether it's Denver or the Giants, he's going to be on one of those two teams, more than likely. So enjoy him while you have him, Seattle. I mean, he gave you a good run, but what you guys have done this year is just kind of pathetic. Another year like this, Pete Carroll's going to be gone. The defense is still sad. Jamal Adams is, I mean, in my opinion, probably the worst trade in Seahawks history, one of the worst trades ever. Um, yeah, you just don't have anything going for you. You're a team that's just it. Nobody looks like they want to win right now, and I don't blame them. Compared to a team like the Lions, where they do want to win, they have a lot of heart. Dan Campbell really infuses that team with care and just competition every single week. Even when they go out there and get beat, they lose while having fun. And I think a team that's having fun and just trying to play football versus a team that really just looks like they're not having any fun right now, but also still suck. I'm going to take the Lions in this one in an upset. And I mean, a 7-point spread is a pretty good payout for you. Moving on, we have the Cardinals in Dallas, and this should be a good game. I was thinking about making it my game of the week. I don't know if I am though, because I feel like this is a game that could be really one-sided, and it could be either team really. Dallas has put up some complete stinkers this year, and the Cardinals recently have been horrible. I think that they're going to look for a bit of a rebound week this year, or this this year, a little bit of a rebound week this week. Isn't a year, I guess though. So either way though, Hopkins is out for the year. I'm pretty sure they're hopeful for his return, but he's likely out for the year. Watt's been out for the year for a while. They're starting to get a lot of injuries and COVID issues. Kyler, I think a lot of people have been hating on Baker, right? Because Baker's really started. We'll get to him later, but he's really starting to look like he's not the guy. I mean, can we talk about Kyler? Because I think this guy should be getting around the same amount of hate that Baker is. Now, there's been some death threats directed at Baker, which is awful. I mean, if you really are so mad at a football player for not playing good that you're going to threaten him and his wife, that's really scummy. So I don't mean that at all. I just mean in general of like, in football terms, Kyler started out really good. I mean, he was my MVP frontrunner for a while, but he has looked awful recently. And obviously having, one of the best receivers in the NFL out does hurt, but still, I mean, the way he's played recently, he's ending the season just with the same stats that he did the previous 2 years. So I think Kyler also has to start getting some attention as far as like, is he really the guy? Because the way he's been playing recently, especially, it's concerning. So for the Cardinals, I mean, look, you're in the playoffs, right? Like, I guess they don't have to be winning, and especially winning good right now. Maybe that is their strategy. Who knows? Maybe Cliff Kingsbury's been coaching bad on purpose. Maybe they have some grand genius master plan behind all this. But as of right now, with the way they've been playing, Dallas, on the other hand, yeah, they've had some bad games this year, but they've been, for the most part, pretty good recently. And they're really looking, I think, for that number one seed as well. So I just think Dallas, either whether the Cardinals are meaning to lose or not, I mean, I just see Dallas pulling this one out. I think it'll be a good game, but I could see this being one-sided for either team. So that's why I didn't make it my game of the week. I will take Dallas in this one, though. Moving on, I have a game of field goals. Yeah, I do not predict a touchdown to be scored in this game. We have the Panthers in New Orleans, and yeah, Panthers, great defense, horrible offense, mainly because of Sam Darnold and Cam Newton. Saints, great defense, maybe the best in the NFL. Horrible offense. I mean, I think you're getting Taysom Hill back this week. Whoop-dee. He might be a little bit better than Ian Book. Not to mention the Saints have just dealt with so many injuries this year. Same thing with the Panthers. It's just two divisional rivals. They're going to put up a very tough defensive match here. Saints, I'm pretty sure, are out of the playoff picture, but I'm not quite sure. Either way, neither team's going to make the playoffs. You're just not battling for much here. Two great defenses facing off against each other. I'm predicting a game of field goals with the Saints coming out on top. Then for our Sunday night football game, we have the Vikings in Green Bay. And I think Green Bay, you're a bit healthier than you were for sure, especially compared to last time against Minnesota. And the Vikings, they've just not played good recently. The defense has been pretty awful. The offense has struggled to get things going. Adam Thielen's out for the year. Kirk Cousins isn't playing this week. All that combined, Packers are pretty easily going to take this one, in my opinion. It's just they're a better team. They're healthier. They've got a lot going for them. They're battling for the 1 seed. Vikings just don't have much going for them at all. Still in playoff contention, but this is probably going to be a pretty bad loss for the Vikings. So I have the Green Bay Packers taking this one. And then our Monday Night Football game of the week, I was thinking about giving it to Cleveland. However, with the Steelers, I think it's really important to them for two reasons. I mean, yeah, they're still in the playoff race. I also think Mike Tomlin's going to want to try to keep up his streak of, no losing seasons in the NFL, which even if he did lose this game, he could still keep up a no losing season. Because, of course, with one tie there, he doesn't really have a. If you go 8-8, you're still going 8-8-1. So either way, though, I think the Steelers are going to be wanting to keep that up. But the biggest reason why I ultimately went Steelers is because this is Big Ben's last game in Pittsburgh. The Steelers fans are going to be roaring. They're going to be loud. They're going to be wanting their team to win, keep up their streak, give Big Ben a good send off if they don't make the playoffs. It might not be the best win, but against the Browns, which, yeah, their defense has been great, but their offense has struggled so much. And again, we already talked a bit about Baker, but Baker really struggling right now. And I think part of it's just that he's hurt, but still really struggling. The run game, the run game's been good. The offensive line's still been good. He doesn't have the worst targets, which is why it's even more concerning. But either way, the offense just not been able to do anything this year. Not much, at least. I mean, Case Keenum has looked better than Baker when he has played, to be honest. So, sure, defense is great. I think it's about the same level with the way the Steelers have played this year, honestly, on defense. But when it comes to the two offenses, I trust Big Ben and that offense over the Browns right now, especially in the atmosphere that it's going to be. So it's not my betting game of the week because I could see the Browns taking this one pretty easily. But just with all those conditions given, I do think the Steelers pull this one out in a 4-point game and give Big Ben a good send-off as for his career as a Steeler, because he actually has, I believe, 18 years as a Steeler, which would be the most by any quarterback to one team. I'm pretty sure over even Tom Brady. So, yeah, it would be a good send-off for Big Ben. But that's going to be my Week 17 predictions for the season, which is almost coming to a close. It's about time for playoffs, and I'll be doing playoff predictions, award predictions, my awards, all that good stuff. So if you don't want to miss that, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.